Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quadrant 4 Politics, the podcast where we discuss politics from a libertarian and conservative perspective. My name is Riley, and I'm here with my co-host, Matt. Say hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
This is episode 11 of Quadrant 4 Politics, but today is a special episode because, we hit episode 10 last time. I think that's kind of an achievement, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Episode 11, we're changing some things, actually. We're doing a different format here. Instead of having a topic of the day, we're actually just going to do the questions that we have randomly selected from the political compass test. And we're just going to shoot the shit. I think that's going to make for a better listening experience, just casually having a conversation and having some fun.
And like we've talked about, we like to discuss ideas a little bit more than, necessarily what's politically relevant or dividing our country or whatnot. So this will give us a way to, talk a little more philosophically.
It will also not restrain us from, we can just discuss whatever we want to talk about. We never have to stay necessarily on topic.
Not that we do, but
yeah.
yeah.
Before we begin, you can check us out on YouTube and SoundCloud, and you can email us at quadrant4politics@gmail.com. That's the number 4, not spelled out 4. And send us a comment and comment, subscribe. If you send us a comment, we will read it on the air and discuss it. That'd be a lot of fun. If it's a question, that's even better. All right, so let's begin. We have the political compass test cut up. We printed it out and we cut it up. It's in a plastic baggie in front of me. And Matt is our very special person who pulls out the question. Yeah, he's our picker. And so he's going to pick a question randomly, and we're going to start with that. Here we go. As you can probably hear, the plastic bag that he is choosing from. And
Random.
Because it's random, yeah.
And it's not. We're not setting this up, right?
Not at all. This is real. You are fisting my fingers right now.
Awesome. I felt the one I want.
You got one? All right. Yes. Jesus Christ.
Remember, it's an agree or disagree format.
Those ladies you're with are lucky with your fingers getting inside that bag.
Just go in and all right, that's not appropriate for.
As I always say when we're doing the political compass test, we don't think that this is a completely foolproof test to find out where you are on the political compass. It's just a good reference point, and it's fun to do.
It is.
So, anything to say before we start with the question?
I'm excited to see what I got in my hand. And again, it's agree or disagree style.
Yeah, so it's a strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. 4 options. They do not let you have the middle ground on this one.
That's because they want you to make a choice.
They do. There is no fucking chill with this test.
All right, I got an idea. I'm going to tell you. Should I tell you beforehand if I agree or disagree before I tell you the question? Or should we discuss it first?
If you want to tell me ahead of time, but you need to. We can't have dead air while you're reading and deciding.
All right, I'll read it. Wait, okay. Well, I gotta read
it. Matt,
I feel like we've already read this one. Remember, we did episode 0. But maybe we didn't. Anyway, let's.
If we have duplicates, that's okay.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
Question 38 out of 62. My answer would be agree.
All right.
The question is, what's good for the most successful corporation is always ultimately good for all of us.
Ooh, interesting. Can I read that again?
You sure can.
Let me see. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us.
Did it say always?
I believe so. There's a lot of commas in there.
Yeah, they're always ultimately good, all of us. Anyway, like I said, I very rarely have a strongly opinion because I try to see things in the middle, and so that would be the same with this one. But the way I see it is, people bash on corporations and whatnot, and especially as more people are accepting socialism, that becomes more common. But, the same people doing that are also the same people who, if employed, are employed by a corporation. And so, there's a difference between big business and small business as well. But corporations provide jobs, and even if they're greedy, even if they're doing some bad things, they're still supplying jobs and supplying products and services. And that's, as long as we're a capitalist country, in a free market country, a corporation's success is tied into the consumer's, like and concern for it.
Absolutely. This is a weird question because you said you agree with it, not strongly agree.
Not strongly agree because, big corporations can also cause damage. The word always being in there is frustrating because, then you get to decide between the four answers afterwards. But
that's the problem with this political compass test, is because every question can be interpreted so many ways.
Yeah.
Like this question can be interpreted anything that's good for a business is good for everyone, like the generation or the population in general, which isn't true because there's a lot of things that can be good for businesses that don't apply to the general population at all, But if we're talking in regards to free market, taxes, regulation, yeah, I think taxing businesses less. I think regulating businesses less. Just overall government having their hands in business is bad. I think it stifles innovation. I think it stifles the free market. I think it stifles smaller businesses growing. So in that sense, I would strongly agree that government taking a step back from big business is good for all of us. I think it grows the economy. I think it offers jobs, and it also makes better products for us to consume.
Well, that's coming at it from a very libertarian aspect, which that's what you do.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary. It doesn't say anything about government explicitly. It's just saying what's good for the corporation.
And that's why the test is so. I think unreliable, is because that's the way I interpret the question. Is I interpret it, are they discussing? It's a political test. Are we talking about
what's
government
the spirit
here?
of the question, what's the question they're trying to get out there?
Exactly. But if it's like, if something's good for a business, I can't think of any specific things off the top of my head, but like a bunch of a business going public and allowing investors to invest in the company, is that something that's generally good for the entire population? If a business finally gets big enough to become public, is that good for all of us? It might make their products better, but I know a lot of businesses that get worse when they go public because investors all of a sudden start, like when a video game company gets big enough to have public investors, all of a sudden the public investors are like, the words I'm about to say might not make sense to you because you don't play video games, but the public investors might be like, Fortnite is a free-to-play game. We want you to have a free-to-play game that's full of microtransactions. Oh, Fortnite, I reference Fortnite because it's the biggest video game out there right now. You've probably heard of it. Fortnite is a battle royale game, so we want you to make a battle royale game. Fortnite is an online-only game. We want you to create an online-only game. And then this, indie video game studio that was previously creating like really beautiful story-driven single-player games is now forced by the investors to make a Fortnite clone that probably isn't going to do very well because Fortnite already exists. People don't need a clone of Fortnite. And so, is that good for the business to go public, even though that's considered a success when a business goes public and gets investors, but that's not good for us as the consumers necessarily. Same thing happens with movie studios and stuff.
And that ties in because what's good for the business is to make profits, and so just because they go public, if their profits go down, just because of what's usually regarded as good, it's not good all of a sudden.
Also, if they make profits by not treating their employees well.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think capitalism or just free market, because capitalism often has images of greed associated with it and, different classes and whatnot. But if the consumer had more, if us consumers realized the power we had in the free market, then it would feel a lot more like, I think, what everybody who's hoping for all this equality and, less poverty and whatnot, I think society would look a lot more like that if we supported only the select businesses that we thought were, didn't have a bunch of human rights violations, weren't, making shoddy crap in
only
third
the
world
businesses
countries.
that were super woke.
Well, sure, but when I say human rights violations, I mean things that like
legit human rights violations.
like things that like every country can come together and say like, this is not wrong or this is not right, you know? So, it's, I think, but that's also hard to do because sometimes it's like, oh, this place uses plastic that's going to end up in the ocean, but it's also going to cost me, $1 less than going to get the super recyclable product or whatever, that's down the street. So, I mean, that only works to a certain extent, but, that's kind of how supply and demand work. And if we put a little more effort into it as individuals and ultimately collectively, then I think it would be best for those corporations, and then it would come down to being the best for us. Yeah. If that made any sense. But
yeah, it's we're going off topic now, and that's cool. But the thing I love about the free market, which the free market is good for business, so I think it's good for all of us.
How's this off topic? I'm sorry.
I guess it's not really off topic, but I tried to tie it back in. I have a fucking fly flying near me. It's one of those little ones. I hate it. I wish it would die. But anyways, kill flies. That's the campaign I'm going to run on. When we run for president, I'll be your vice president. And I'll wear shirts that says kill. Too, so. Flies' lives do not matter.
Flies' lives matter.
Do you know what? All lives matter.
You can't say that. You cannot say that in 2019.
All lives matter. Shit.
No, because to say that truth is very hurtful to people.
It is.
God forbid you say all lives matter.
God fucking forbid that you say all lives matter.
Fucking mouth, Riley.
The free market is good for all of us. Is good for business, and it's good for all of us because we have the power to change business. A perfect example of one man changing business is the documentary, the high-class documentary called Super Size Me. And that documentary changed the course of McDonald's for the future.
They don't supersize their fries anymore, which is
bullshit.
Well,
not only that, but they've increased the health standards. They've increased the quality of their food. They've made everything better there since Super Size Me, because Super Size Me came out 20 years ago. Shit, I don't know.
20 years ago?
It may not have been 20 years, but it feels like it's been 20 years. That movie's fucking old. I think it was
the mid-2000s.
That movie, if you watch it now, there's a lot of like really dated things that are like, they don't even serve that at McDonald's anymore. But ever since Super Size Me came out, that was a huge shift for McDonald's. I wouldn't be surprised if Super Size Me was on like the Wikipedia page in McDonald's history. But, that's one man who went on a mission to point out like, hey, look at McDonald's. This is not healthy, and Americans are just living on this. And then that became a worldwide phenomenon, and these owners of McDonald's were like, oh shit, people are on our ass about this, let's do something. And ever since then, I don't think there's anyone who can deny that McDonald's has not gotten better since Super Size Me. But there's also well, you don't like that they don't supersize anymore.
No.
I think McDonald's
My point
has gotten
is
better.
that McDonald's is still not very healthy.
It's gotten better though, and that's the point.
I mean, it's
like
not,
people
it's
know
like
when they
still
go to McDonald's.
considered like not even food by most standards.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you are. I mean, if you're
have you
eating
seen that jar experiment?
Jar?
Like how you can put McDonald's in a airtight jar.
Oh yeah,
and it will not go bad.
That may have changed though since Super Size Me, because that was in Super Size Me. That experiment was in the end credits of Super Size Me.
I understand, but I don't think it. I mean, we did that test in high school, which was, I guess, a couple years after it came out. But
yeah,
my point is that I don't. I mean, McDonald's might have changed a few things, and that made a few people happy because McDonald's listened. But if you, in the spirit of the question, if you go back and look at McDonald's history, it gives people who are against free market something to stand on, because the founder of McDonald's his name is Ray Kroc, even though the person who started it, his last name is McDonald's, but he was bought out for what back then was a big portion of like $1 million or whatnot,
So he got money for it? That seems fair to me.
Yeah, but he was really mistreated, and he got kind of just screwed over. And
that's what happened to actually, I love superheroes, so I'm going to bring it up. Superman and Batman both had creator issues. The creator, Jerry Siegel, and the other guy who created Superman, two poor Jewish guys in New York City created Superman. Or maybe it was Cleveland. I can't remember. But anyways, they created Superman. Superman got famous, but then quickly died because he got really famous, and then they wanted, general society wasn't interested in superheroes so much. So Superman's popularity kind of died, and they lost the rights or something like that, and it wasn't until, after they died or, later in their life that DC finally went up to them and were like, hey, we're going to give you credits, and, they started making money from it, and now their family actually has money for them creating Superman, but they lived in poverty for a big chunk of their life, even after creating Superman. And now, whenever you see a Superman movie or comic or anything Superman related, it will always say Superman created by Jerry Siegel and the other guy, I can't remember his name. And the same thing happened with Batman. It was created by one guy, and then there was another guy named Bill Finger who had a huge hand in creating Batman, but it wasn't until 2015 or 16 or 17 that people looked at the history of Batman and went, oh shit, this guy had a lot of input into creating Batman as we know him today, and he has not been put on the labels of anything Batman related ever. And so now when you look at things that are created by Batman, it says created by the first guy and then Bill Finger, because Bill Finger, they're finally giving him the credit that he deserves, even though I'm pretty sure he's already dead. He's most likely dead. Superman and Batman were created in the 30s, I think.
Yeah.
But
can I tell you what a big hole in the story is?
What?
Is that these were Jewish guys, so they were going to find a way
I don't
to
know
become
if Bill
rich.
Finger was Jewish. We're going there. I see how it is.
You said more comedy because of this new format, so...
I mean, yeah, but, well, no. Jerry Siegel, the creators... Well, okay. I mean, I'm Jewish and I'm rich, right? Is that how it works?
He's not Jewish, but...
Yeah, they haven't seen me. Well, I could think they have, actually. I made that Captain Marvel video.
Yeah.
No, that's right. They did see my face.
Right
I do not have a giant nose.
Hey, not appropriate. This is 2019.
Yeah,
people are getting offended as you speak.
Inappropriate.
About other things, but when this shows, they'll get offended.
Hey, if we have any Jewish listeners out there, please come on our guest and tell me I'm a Nazi, and we can discuss it civilly and peacefully, and I would happy.
And let them know what a real Nazi is, not lame white guys making a joke.
Hey, just chilling, making jokes.
Chilling and making jokes. That's...
So, are you not defending the free market? Is that what's going on?
I'm saying the free market. Or are you just
playing the devil's advocate?
No, I'm saying the free market and capitalism are not a perfect system by any means. If you remember, you asked me...
I think that the free market gives the people the most power, because I think that we can rise up and demand things of businesses. I'm trying to think of other, this is a dumb example, but it's an example nonetheless. Starbucks and straws. And it's something I disagree with, but it's there was a huge outrage of we don't want these straws going in turtles' nostrils anymore, because there was that video that came out with the turtle's nostril and he had a straw in it.
Just
and it was
one?
The one I saw, I'm sure there were more than one, but the one I saw, it was actually a green straw. It could have been a Starbucks straw for all I know. I found out most of the pollution in the ocean is from China, actually, though, but regardless, that's a whole different topic. But, that's a change. We demand, or not we, but the woke people who care significantly about plastic in the ocean, they were like, fuck straws, and we're not going to go to any place that has straws. All of a sudden, now when you go to Starbucks, you have to pretty much beg for a straw.
And I get treated like crap.
Yeah, we went to Starbucks and we asked for a straw, and they pretty much wanted to shit in your drink. Here's your straw, buddy.
Exactly. Like I was, directly shoving it in the nostril.
Yeah, it was like, thanks for the straw. I'm
gonna
go find a turtle.
I promise to leave this on a beach is what I will do for you.
I'll be sure this ends up in a turtle's asshole.
Yep, that was what I was going for. I didn't want the coffee. I just wanted to hurt turtles.
I just wanted the straw. Give me a straw, bitch.
I go to Starbucks and I hold them up, and it's not for money, it's for straws.
Give me straws.
That's what the woke people would be most upset about.
Pretty soon we're going to have to special order straws from fucking China.
That's probably
true.
Shit
on Wish. You know the Wish app? How they have all those garbage products on Wish. You don't go on Facebook very often. They advertise on Facebook all the time. But Wish is like a Chinese app, or it's like an app where you can get a bunch of shitty Chinese products, and it's like half the time they're free, but they don't ship for like 2 months, and all you have to pay for is shipping. But usually it's something that's really crappy
2
and
months?
poorly made. Yeah, it's a really weird app. You should
Holy
look
crap.
it up. My girlfriend uses it, and she gets products on there sometimes, where she'll like get like a crochet set that's like kind of cool, and it's free. All she had to do was pay for shipping from China, and then she gets it like 2 or 3 months later because I don't know, it's fucking coming from China, and a lot of it's like really shitty, probably like paint made with lead kind of shit, you know.
So give to your child as a snack.
Yeah. Here's some
You
lead
want
paint.
something sweet? Like, he says, quit your bitching. So
You're lucky you're getting fed today, child.
let me ask you a question then. So you said ultimately, tax breaks are better for the corporations. Do you have any opinions about how the Trump tax breaks have turned out?
I'm not one to deny that Trump has done good things. He's also been the Libertarians have called him several times the deregulator in chief.
Well, yeah, he came up with that policy for every regulation you add, you have to get rid of 2.
Yeah, and so
Which
those
I don't
are
know how that even works.
I
but-
mean, when it comes to any president, there's good and bad things. Obama did things I like. I can't. Gay marriage, he was a big promoter of, and even though I think the best solution to gay marriage is just not have government involved in marriage at all, but it's like he still made things that were good for the most part.
Yeah, he supported it in his 2012 campaign because the polls had switched to 50%.
Well, that's a free market change right there.
That's.
I mean, it's
that's
government,
not
but it's still
product,
people
but
telling, giving our opinion.
It's pandering to the masses.
Yeah.
In 2008.
Well, no, that's what we want from politicians, though. We want politicians to listen to the population. We don't want
Do we
politicians
want them to fake their beliefs because of that?
to an extent.
Like, I think personally, Obama probably has never really had a big deal with gay marriage, but he did it because the polls indicated that 53%
when he was elected
people,
in 2008, he was against gay marriage because it wasn't accepted. But by
That's
the
what
time
I'm
the
saying.
second election came around, it was.
But that's, I mean, we're getting off a little topic here, but this is important because the McCain-Palin ticket was destined for failure from day one. Because,
you think so?
Yeah, well, following the Bush administration, given the fact that you tend to switch parties from one president to the next, given the fact that Obama's election was historical, people were really excited to, finally elect somebody besides a white man, I think it was destined for failure. Not really for failure, but they were destined for loss because Obama was going to win, or probably whoever the Democrat, but especially when Obama got the nomination. Like towards the end, Republicans were giving money to Hillary Clinton because they thought she'd be easier to beat.
Oh, okay.
So
Then
towards
Obama.
the end of Obama and Hillary running against each other. So my point is, though, like McCain and Palin still said what their true thoughts were on gay marriage, even though it was probably even a little harsher than what the public wanted to hear at the time. So
Well-
I'd rather just have a politician just tell me what they really think, even if it's, this is what I personally believe and this is what I think should be law.
Yeah.
Because if that's the person who's going to be the head of our government, like, you need to be upfront with us about that.
Well, my example with Republicans pandering to their audiences with gun rights, like, do you think that Trump is really a gung-ho gun fan? Like, the only reason
I think
why
Trump
he
definitely
is...
panders to us. I don't think he's religious.
Well, also,
at
do you
all,
think
but
Mitch McConnell is a gung-ho gun fan? Do you think he has a collection of guns?
he's
and
from
goes hunting?
Kentucky?
I guess.
Trump's from New
He's
York.
an old
Big
turtle.
difference.
Yeah, okay. I can't think of any
But,
others.
no,
Justin Amash is pretty much a libertarian now. He's independent, but I don't see him as being a gung-ho gun guy. I do see Sarah Palin and McCain and like Dick Cheney. They're big gun guys.
Well, we
Dick
know
Cheney
Dick
shot
Cheney.
someone, yeah.
And but the fact is like, I don't own guns. I don't. Have I shot a gun?
Well,
I
me-
guess
me neither. I
It's been
don't
a
own
long
any
time
guns
since
at the
I've shot a gun, but I still support guns. Like, and I support people's right to have them, but I am just telling you what I honestly believe without having ever touched one. It's
Yeah.
not like Obama had to kiss a boy before he decided, I'm for gay marriage or I'm against it. I'm
Well,
just saying,
also,
tell us what you believe.
You
and be
believe
upfront
that
about it.
politicians can be bought out, right? not necessarily
choose
bought
to be,
out,
yeah.
but like
Oftentimes
if
that's
they
how they
get
have
a
to
big
go.
donation from the NRA, they're not necessarily going to be like, no, you know.
Well,
Because
I
a
mean-
politician, like a senator, based on their Senate income, they only make like $300,000 a year, right?
Less than that. I think it's like 220.
But they all get wealthy rich because of all their donations from big companies or organizations that have a political agenda, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making a conspiracy theory. I'm either asking an honest question or this is the truth.
Well, they get paid for speeches, and they get paid to show up at universities. They get paid to write books. So
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where all their income comes from, but I'm like Al Gore, for example, left the White House with $2 million, and now he has over $100 million. And I think there's an inconvenient truth to that. And
Pun.
so, I mean, yeah, they get rich, but, you know, sometimes it's by what they're involved in and whatnot.
That was a really good joke. Did you come up with that yourself or did you steal that?
I just came up with it.
Dude, that was genius.
Oh, thanks.
That is an inconvenient truth. I love it.
Okay, anyway, so back to the point is I just, you know, maybe it doesn't work. I might just be naive, but I think, you know, people should be straightforward, especially if you want to be the leader of the country. Even if you're going to say, like, let's take gay marriage, for example. I don't support it personally, but I believe it's settled law by the Supreme Court. And if I'm elected, I will not.
You don't support gay marriage?
I'm speaking as what somebody might say.
Oh, okay.
They might say, I don't support it myself, but I get that it's on the books and it's not a fight we're going to have if I'm elected president. So,
and that's how you were defending like Neil Gorsuch and the other guy, who was
Brett Kavanaugh?
Brett Kavanaugh, because you think that you're not concerned about abortion going away, even though you're against abortion. You've told me before that you're not concerned about abortion going away because you think that they've assumed it as settled law, because it's been since the 70s, right?
Since 1973.
That
yeah.
is almost as old as the hotel we are currently recording in.
And I think that, I mean, yeah, if they have true respect for the law and the history, and both of them have stated that they have respect for what's called jurisprudence, which is basically, you know, what's on the books, what the courts previously decided. It has to be big to be overturned. Like something big has to happen for it to be overturned.
Yeah.
But I also just think, you know, they also probably don't want to get shot in their homes. So
we haven't heard those things from those states where they did the heartbeat bills. Those were all supposed to go to the Supreme Court. Have we heard anything about those?
no, that stuff takes time. I mean, they're probably still in the lower courts.
So is that law in those states, or do they have to wait for it to go to the Supreme Court?
It's no. Well, the Supreme Court decided, at least with Georgia, was that because the state of Georgia petitioned the Supreme Court and said, while this is going through the court system, we would like to enact it as law. And the court voted 5-4, saying, no, you have to wait until it gets to us before we will let it be implemented. Because essentially, Georgia's already made a law. It's just lower courts are holding up the process.
Yeah.
And they wanted to say, okay, until this has been finalized by the courts, let's get it going. And they said no. But the court also said this yes to the transgender issue in the military.
Oh, okay.
And so they were both asked the same question: can we implement this while it's being worked through the courts?
Yeah.
In one case they said yes, in the other case they said no. Difference was Chief Justice Roberts, but it was the one vote. But anyway, that's you know,
You ready for another question?
that's neither here nor there. So
You want to do another question?
yeah, we can do another one.
All right. Go ahead. Put your hand in my bag. Yeah, feel around in there. Get those fingers wet.
You're so nasty.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Riley in real life is just a demented person. And I'm not one of those faint of heart Christians that, like, somebody says damn and, you know, falls over with, like, a faint. But Riley is just really demented.
I was watching the King of the Hill episode recently where he's looking for art for the road for his company, and he goes to the liberal artists, and they have like a whole bunch of like George Washington being compared to Adolf Hitler, and then there was one that was like the capitalist dick, and someone just pulls off the cover of like a big dick statue, and he's like, Bobby, car now.
That's pretty awesome.
Fucking love King of the Hill. King of the Hill has a lot of transgender jokes that would not fly today, though.
Oh boy, this question. Oh boy.
Is this the question that you didn't want to do?
No. This question,
Oops.
I don't know how it fits politically, but it hits home. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things.
Oh my god. How the fuck does this give you anywhere? I'm going to throw this question, that one away. Remind me to pick that up before we go. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. What the fuck does this have to do with the political spectrum? That's what I want to know. How does this tell... Like, if you answer anything on this, where does that put you?
Well, it could be...
Again, for the listeners, it's strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree. No, this is a bullshit question option.
I have a way that it could be interpreted politically, but I don't. It's hard to, something you can't like put into words. But let me just tell you my answer. My answer. Here, what I do in real life is very different than the answer. So, as we talked about during our drug podcast, episode 10,
Yeah.
I admit that I used to be addicted to painkillers.
All right.
And what happened is that it made me think life was perfect and nothing in the future was a problem and everything would work itself out. And in just the last couple of years, I've come to realize that even though the addiction's no longer there, that mentality still is, to where I don't pursue things because I've decided to tell myself that's in the future, things will work itself out, which kind of relates to this about when you're troubled, it's better not to think about it. I think it depends on, I guess, what it means by troubled. But I would say overall the answer is disagree, because it's not a good policy to just, bury what you're feeling and, let it cause problems elsewhere.
When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. When you're troubled, okay. So like when you're sad?
When you're sad
or like
down, angry. I mean, I do think it's good when you're angry to let off steam in a positive way instead of, like, for example, assaulting the person you're mad at. So that could be...
Or is it like stressed? Like you need to write an entire essay. Should you work on the essay, or should you watch TV shows or play video games?
I'd say in that case you should probably...
When you are
You should work out a process to slowly get the essay done.
I would like to see the person who wrote this question and just be like,
just punch them in the face.
What the
Okay,
fuck?
well, this doesn't, this
no, I want to discuss this some more because it's so dumb. Okay.
If anybody can tell us how this is a political question and you get it to make sense to us, we will give you a $20 gift card.
Oh, yeah? Where to?
I don't care, but just one person who makes the most sense to us. We will give you a $20 gift card.
You hear that? There's a $20 gift card online.
Politically relevant to us, and tell us how it fits into the political compass.
I'll put that in the description so that more people listen.
Don't say so more people listen. You're a bad host.
No, but that's...
We're not eager for viewers. We do this because we love it.
Okay, when I'm troubled, and I'm going to assume troubled means like sad or angry or anxious. I like to, personally what I usually do is I go for a walk and listen to death metal.
That doesn't sound good.
Do you think
That's not joyful.
Do you think that is keeping busy with more cheerful things?
It depends. Are you putting off something that needs to be taken care of, or are you trying to...
Well, I don't know. There's not a fucking second line here that says,
I understand.
This applies to writing an essay.
That's what... I mean, that's... I don't know what I originally answered on this. I think I originally answered agree because I was like, oh, yeah, I agree. That's what I would do. But I think if I'm giving an answer of what you should do, then, I mean, it depends on what the question's asking. And honestly, I'm kind of just, I don't know. I don't have much more to say on this, Riley.
Okay. I think I would say strongly agree. It's better not to think about it, but to keep yourself busy with more cheerful things. And the reason why I say strongly agree and I still don't see how this is political, but for myself personally, if we're talking about this from a self-help point of view, I prefer not to let life's burdens rest on my shoulders, because in the end, I don't care about life all that much, and it's I know that you view that as a hopeful thing, but for me, I view that as a positive thing of, I'm not gonna let shit get me down, because in the point, what does it really matter? We're just fucking space dust clumped together, and luckily we have a brain so we can think about bullshit questions like this. But I don't think it's worth it to live your life letting things bother you. And whether you think
that's a true point, because I know somebody who lets every little single thing get to them, Mom, and so
listening in.
But seriously, she lets every little thing get to her, and she'll like go into a panic attack worrying about like bills that have to be paid in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was over at her place recently. She's like, I have to remember to call Comcast on this day and do this on this day. So like, I was sitting right in the chair next to her Alexa, which she doesn't even use. And I was like, Alexa, remind me in 3 days to pay this bill. Alexa, remind me in 2 days to call Comcast. Alexa, remind me on August 16th to do whatever she had to do.
If any of our listeners are listening to this, like with an open speaker, and they happen to have an Alexa,
that's the risk you take nowadays. But anyway,
Xbox on, because there's the Kinect has
okay,
voice.
Google.
Yeah. Oh shit, you have Google on your phone.
I do. Anyway, so the point is she lets herself get stressed out by things that aren't beyond her control, but are beyond her control right now.
Yeah.
And so, let me tell you what my good friend Jesus said. He said,
Jesus Christ.
Don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's going to worry about itself. It has enough worries of its own.
Was that Jesus who said that?
It was. He said, don't worry about tomorrow, for
What
tomorrow
chapter was
has
that?
its own worries. It was in... it's definitely in the book of Matthew, but it's probably in one of the other
In your
Gospels
book?
too. No, it's in the other Gospels as well. But
did you read the book of Matthew first because your name is Matthew?
I read it first because I was advised, if you're going to read the Bible, start with the New Testament. It's the first book of the New Testament, so...
I started reading Samuel because my middle name is Samuel, and
that's not a good spot to start at all.
I started reading Samuel, but then I just got bored, and
that's
I was like,
like somebody saying, like, start at Leviticus because this is what we believe.
Wow, I don't. That doesn't make a better reference for me at all.
That's
you
like
been
the one
that's like
everybody
starting
uses
with Order of the Phoenix in the Harry Potter series.
No, it's a different concept, because with Leviticus, that's the one, like, fundamentalists use to quote gay marriage, even though they're quoting it in the wrong concept, wrong context, sorry. And like the whole book of Leviticus, Christians will quote for a whole bunch of reasons, but it only applied to a certain group of people in a certain part of the world at a certain time in history. The only thing we can take from it is the character of God. We can't take anything about the rules and apply them to today's life. It doesn't work. And that's my point to you, is you can't start there and expect a good outcome. Otherwise, you're going to have problems that you're worrying about.
Troubles. Okay, I'm going to sound like a hippie here, but if I'm troubled about paying a bill or where I'm going to live or things like that, it's pretty easy for me to just give up modern conveniences. Like, if I needed to pack up everything, sell most of my shit, and live in a van, I could do that. If I got to the point where living in a van was an option, I had to become homeless and live in a tent, I could do that. I would work hard to keep myself from being in that position, or if I got into that position, I would work hard to get out of it. But I'd also be willing to, if that was required of me, if my debts got so bad in life that I was required to be homeless living in a tent in downtown Seattle, I could bear with that. And in the end, I'm not going to stress myself out over an internet bill. It's not worth it. Life is not long enough to be stressed about that kind of shit.
But when you're stressed about it, the question says, do you just think about something else then? Because it's also a matter of not addressing your problems.
Well, I mean, that just because focusing on something cheerful doesn't mean giving up responsibility, at least by my interpretation.
That's good.
And that might be what this question is asking. It might be all about responsibility and the subtext of it. But for me personally, thinking about something positive or cheerful, as the question says, that doesn't mean giving up responsibility. That means, okay, I'm not going to think about the internet bill right now, which internet's really fucking expensive, by the way. They need to fix that. There needs to be less taxes and less regulations so that there can be more internet companies. Internet is bad. I'm Donald Trump.
But what are you doing with your hands?
I'm doing the
You're
Donald
doing
Trump
the Donald
motions.
Trump hands.
It's in the end, it's just not worth it, man.
All right.
I forgot where I was going.
Well,
cheerful. I will still go to work and I will still try to pay that bill. But if I can't, so be it. I'll pay the late fee charges or whatever. All right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. You ready to wrap up this episode? Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to Quadrant 4 Politics. I hope you enjoyed the new formula. Please let us know format. This is not a chemistry
test. It could be a formula. Well, if you don't like
what
it,
are the
let us know
ingredients?
Also.
What are the ingredients of this formula?
Well, there's pulling from the bag, a piece of paper. Yeah. So,
do you have a lot of experience with pulling out, Matt?
Anyway, so if you did not enjoy this format, also let us know, because if most people want us to go back to doing a topic of the week, since like 60 people have been killed in the last week over shootings, like if there's
that's so
I'm
funny.
not laughing about it. I'm talking about the irony of us talking about little irrelevant things. Then let us know. But this way we get to come at it as unprofessionals with no experience. So,
because what right do we have to talk about guns and drugs and prostitution and abortion?
Well, you're a prostitute, basically.
Shit, yeah. Anyone, hey, send us a private message and I'll hook you up with some dick.
Send Riley one.
Well, we share a private message system. I mean, it's not like we're not giving out our personal emails.
Alrighty.
If you see the email, just let me know. Be like, hey, someone sent us an email. They want your
in
dick.
The subject to Riley. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Be sure to look us up on SoundCloud and YouTube. Email us at quadrant4politics@gmail.com. That's the number 4, not spelled out. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Specifically, comment. Also, share with your friends. We would really, really appreciate that, because all we care about is getting more viewers. We do this. It's hard work. It is hard work to sit here, motherfuckers, and talk, man.
Conversations we would have had otherwise, too.
Yes, you're goddamn right.
All right, bye.
Bye.